Hello and welcome to this India Today special. It appears that on the 1st of July, the country's most ambitious tax reform in a long time, the goods and services tax, will now be a reality with Parliament having passed the bill. Joining me now to discuss the implications is the former Finance Minister, Congressman P Chidambaram. Appreciate your joining us, sir. Leaving the Parliament yesterday, former Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh described this as a historic moment. Would you share what Dr. Singh said, that what was created yesterday in Parliament in the Rajya Sabha is a slice of history?
It is, but this history could have been made a few years ago. That was my only regret, and I'm sure Dr. Manmohan Singh shares that regret.
He probably doesn't, Mr. Chidambaram, because when we asked him the question about whether he felt that this could have been passed when he was Prime Minister, he said, let bygones be bygones. It seems that you haven't yet forgotten the fact that you could not pass the GST and therefore are not giving full enough credit to Arun Jaitley and Narendra Modi.
When someone says, let bygones be bygones, that statement clearly carries that there is a tinge of regret.
No, that's a statesman-like statement.
Of
Your
course.
statement has put a but in it.
No.
You seem to be a little, in a sense, peeved, if I may say so, that you could not pass the GST, that Gujarat was seen as one of the states at the time when Mr. Modi was Chief Minister that was not on board on GST.
Not peeved, just disappointed that in India we do things 4 or 5 years later than when we should do it. At least for the future, we should do things on time.
When that debate took place in Parliament, you were also again among the few who seemed to raise several question marks.
When the GST Constitution Amendment Bill was passed,
That's right.
I had raised issues.
You raised issues. We'll come to those issues in a moment. But would you agree that this bill will take this country towards a national market, towards a single tax, one nation regime?
Not yet. It's an imperfect bill, but at least we have got a beachhead. We have made a beginning. I have no doubt in my mind that the NDA government will amend this bill within the next 18 months to 24 months. If this government does not amend the bill, I have no doubt the successor government, it could be any party, will amend the bill. It's an imperfect bill, but it's a beachhead. We have found an opening, and as we go along, we can make improvements.
What are the specific imperfections that trouble you at the moment?
See, this is not one tax. This is a multi-tax rate bill. So, unless these rates converge to one tax, it's not a pure GST. It's still a hybrid. That's the major concern, a concern that is being shared by no less than the Chief Economic Advisor. Secondly, the full shape of the bill's play will not be known until the fitments are done. Unless we know which product, which service is being fitted into what rate, it's difficult to pronounce whether we are moving towards a one rate. I have said that at least 70% of the goods and 70% of the services by value must be at the modal rate. The modal rate for the time being, let's assume, is 18%. If 70% of the goods and 70% of the services are at the modal rate, I think we can give good marks to the bill.
You know, because there is this feeling, not just expressed by you, but by others, or concern expressed by you and others, that this might have an inflationary spiral, particularly in the short run.
It will have some inflationary impact, but that I believe will be offset by the efficiency of the input credit system.
You know, when you were criticizing this bill, you seemed to suggest, and I quote you now, I wish to point out to the Honourable Finance Minister that there are still pieces of clumsy drafting in this bill. If the Honourable Finance Minister reads it more carefully, he will find that there are exquisite pieces of clumsy drafting. What is clumsy?
What I pointed out then, I think you're talking about the GST constitution.
That's right, because at that moment, that entire process then has gone through drafting,
That was
redrafting.
clumsily drafted.
Are you now fully satisfied?
No, that clumsily drafted section remains as a clumsily drafted part of the constitution amendment.
What is it specifically that
But I
troubles you?
pointed out that where the revenues will go, will it consolidated fund of India, the consolidated fund of the state, that sub-article has been clumsily drafted. It remains there, but it won't affect the operation of the bill, but it's an example of clumsy drafting.
On GST specifically, Mr. Chidambaram, do you see a cascade? Do you believe that the states and the centre are on the same page? Do you believe that in the months ahead there will be potential for conflict, for some amount of tension that will continue between producing states, manufacturing states? Is that all over in your view?
I think the principle has been settled. We have to wait to see how the fitments are done. If the states and the centre can agree on the fitments, there are thousands and thousands of products and services. Each one of them has to be fitted into a rate, or other way around. Each one has to be given a rate. If they all agree on that, I don't expect any day-to-day conflict. But conflicts will arise, disputes will arise about the place of supply, about the state which is entitled to collect the GST, about the sharing of revenue, about the manner in which the input tax credits have been given. So I think disputes will come, but I think mature governments will find a way to resolve the disputes.
You know, I come back to it. Mature governments will find ways to resolve the disputes if the trust deficit that has existed for a long time between political parties in this country were overcome. You yourself said this could have happened a few years ago.
Dispute resolution has nothing to do with trust deficit.
There was an attempt over the years by state governments that were inimical, let's say, to whoever was in centre, to put one roadblock after the other. There was a sense that the Congress, when it was in the opposition, also began to put roadblocks in the way of the government. You insisted, for example, on the 18%.
Never, and I want that to go on record.
That the Congress at no stage tried to block the implementation of GST as soon as possible. There was absolutely
never.
The 18% rate which you insisted must be part. They accepted it, but that had
blocked.
blocked.
That is not a roadblock. That is a wise suggestion. Merit of the suggestion has been accepted by the government. That is a suggestion that came out of the Chief Economic Advisor's report.
So what are the lessons then? What are the lessons that this prolonged period that GST has been in the making suggest for our political system?
It suggests that political parties are yet not entirely mature, that they don't see the future as one should see it. I mean, there are many, many areas where our current policies are inadequate to meet the future challenges. Tax reform is one of them. There's another major tax reform which this government has to do, but it's refusing to do it. Direct taxes reform. There is a DTC code which is ready on the table of the Finance Minister. He should take up that code, dust it if he wants to, make a few changes according to the change times, and enact that code. That will be as revolutionary and as historic as a GST. But for some reason, this government, in every finance bill every year, picks up a couple of clauses from that DTC and amends the Income Tax Act.
Having said that, surely GST in itself, as you've said at the start, is a beachhead, as you've called it.
Absolutely.
A beachhead for what? Is it a beachhead, as the Finance Minister says, that businesses small and large today will not have to go through paying different rates of tax in different states at different times? Do you agree that you will reach that stage or not?
No. That's why I said when I talk about a beachhead, it's like a sea voyage. We have landed near the shore. We have placed our feet firmly on the shore. We'll have to move forward. Moving forward, these bills which I have with me, will require amendment. There's no doubt about it. They will require amendment. But we are not stopping the bills now, because as I said, we have claimed the beachhead. Let's go forward. As we go forward, when amendments are required, I have no doubt this government will realize that provisions of the bill have to be amended.
Interestingly, you're speaking about amendments because there was a belief that the Congress would push amendments in the Rajya Sabha. Yesterday, you chose not to, allegedly because former Prime Minister Manmohan Singh advised the Congress party not to move any further amendments, not to block the passage of the bill.
No. The amendments were not intended to block the passage of the bill. The one amendment which the Congress party proposed to move through my colleague Mr. Jairam Ramesh was to assert the right of Parliament to notify the rate recommended by the GST Council. As the bill stands today, when the GST Council recommends a rate, the central government will notify it. So Mr. Ramesh proposed, between the GST and the central government, Parliament should formally approve the rate and then the government must notify it. It was simply a constitutional principle that he was asserting. But at the meeting day before yesterday, I did tell the meeting chaired by the Congress President that that would not be the right thing to do. We should not move that amendment. And when Dr. Manmohan Singh came later to the House, he also advised Jairam Ramesh not to press the amendment.
It's interesting you mentioned Jairam Ramesh because Mr. Ramesh also told me a few days ago that he believed that the entire process of Parliament was being subverted in the manner in which GST was pushed as a money bill so that there would be no voting on it in the Rajya Sabha.
You see, the GST bill is indeed a money bill. There's no doubt about it. It deals only with taxation and incidental matters. What we said in the debate on the GST Constitution Amendment Bill is, since this is such a major transformational tax reform, while it is a money bill, you go through the record, I said it, please don't bring it as a money bill, so that there can be a full debate and amendments that are proposed by the Rajya Sabha, if they are merit-worthy, if they are merited amendments, government can accept it. But by bringing it as a money bill, you're foreclosing the Rajya Sabha's right to amend the bill.
I'm going to raise 6 issues at the end that may haunt taxpayers and consumers, that many believe. One, multiple tax rates will continue.
Correct.
You believe it will happen? That there will be multiple tax rates? Even though it was conceived as a single. I know that there are 5%, 12%, 18%, 28%. You believe that these will still remain, or will uniformity be achieved?
No. At the moment they are there. Eventually they have to converge.
The second issue which people are raising is fear of high tax rates. Do you believe that there is a genuine fear that it will actually raise tax rates?
That depends on the government of the day. As I said, if 70% of the goods and services are at the model rate of 18%, I think the chances of high inflation are low. But if more rates are closer at 28%, it will be inflationary.
Number 3, anti-profiteering measures. The government is planning to set up an authority to see if any reduction in tax rates after GST is passed on to the consumer by companies or not.
Bad provision, false economics, a complete lack of understanding of how products are produced and priced. The provision is suspect from a constitutional point of view also. Somebody will challenge it. I hope that the government sees good sense and amends it. My colleague Mr. Kapil Sibal explained why that provision is a bad provision. It is being presented as pro-consumer. Actually, a couple of economists have written a paper how that provision is actually anti-consumer.
Number 4, taxation of free supplies between related parties. The GST law proposes to tax any free supplies between 2 related parties. The problem could arise in case the parties are located in different states.
There is a problem. There is a problem even in the definition of taxable turnover. In a taxable turnover, exempt supplies, that means goods and services which are otherwise exempt from GST, are also included in calculating taxable turnover. These problems will be there. I hope they address some of them through the rules. The rules will come back to Parliament. If they don't address them through the rules, there will be problems and disputes will be raised.
To avoid dual control, the GST Council has reached a compromise formula. 90% of tax assessees with an annual turnover of 1.5 crores or less will be assessed by the states, the rest by the centre. For those with a turnover over 1.5 crores, the states and the centre will share it equally. Do you agree with this?
Well, that's, as I said, is a compromise. And all compromises are a bit of a patchwork. Let me tell you the problem. You have a business. Your turnover this year is more than 1.5%.
1.5 crores.
1.5 crore, sorry. And then the center becomes your administrative authority. Suppose your business faces a slump and next year the turnover goes down to 1.2 crore. What will happen? Will you shift from center to state? And then 3 years after a slump, your business picks up. Your turnover goes beyond 1.5 crore. There are problems. How they will address it, we'll have to wait and see. But there will be problems in this. Any turnover, any line you draw, in the nature of business, you will go up and you will go down.
In conclusion though, do you believe this will result in a simplification of tax procedures over time, or do you believe this will only increase the presence of the taxman in the lives of ordinary businesses?
Answer is yes and no. Yes, because a large number of taxes are eliminated. Octroi, entry tax, entertainment tax, luxury tax, and in the center, excise and service tax, two separate taxes. All of them are eliminated. There's only one tax. And therefore, it is indeed a very, very big measure of simplification. Now, having said that, there are other problems in the bill. For example, the power given to the tax authority. Powers of search, seizure, arrest, making one offense non-bailable, yet it is compoundable. There's an inherent contradiction. If the offense is compoundable, all offenses are compoundable, then why pick out one offense and say it is non-bailable? You arrest me, take me to a magistrate, I tell the magistrate I'm willing to compound it. Now, will he compound it and let me go, or will he deny me bail and put me in jail? So there are contradictions. My real worry is, and this is what I want to tell the Finance Minister and the government, when we moved in service tax from a positive list to a negative list approach, I had returned to the Finance Ministry by that time. I called the Service Tax Department and said, adopt a benign approach to administering this tax. Because when you move from positive list, which is X number of services, to a negative list, which is the whole universe, minus Y, the whole universe is taxed, a lot of people will not know whether they are taxable or not. A lot of people will come under the tax net for the first time. They will not know what service tax is. So please adopt a benign approach for the first few years, and then we can tighten the screws after that. This law starts with a non-benign approach. Although the Finance Minister did say in his reply yesterday that it will not be enforced in a harsh manner, I'm afraid unless the message clearly goes that as transformational a tax as this one, which applies to the whole universe in India, must be administered with a benign approach in the first 4 or 5 years, this will lead to all kinds of unhappiness and disappointment.
Let me then ask you in conclusion, are you willing at the very end to give credit to the statesmanship shown by the Prime Minister, to the manner in which Arun Jaitley yesterday in his speech said this is not the act of any one individual, we've all come together, everyone deserves credit. Are you equally today willing to say that this is a triumph of our political system led by Narendra Modi, that he has been able to reach out to you, resolve differences, and it shows in that sense a bipartisan spirit?
Of course. I think the most important turning point was when Mr. Narendra Modi changed the position he took as Chief Minister of Gujarat and took a different position, in fact an exact opposite position, when he became the Prime Minister of India. As Chief Minister of Gujarat, he was stoutly, and let me underline, stoutly opposed to GST. His speeches, his statements are there. As Prime Minister, he's changed his opinion. That was a turning point. If Mr. Modi had stuck to his original position, this bill would never have seen the light of the day.
Which is why I said Mr. Modi has shown a certain statesman-like demeanor.
I think he has shown first
a pragmatism,
a capacity to learn and correct his error, even though he does not admit it, correct his error, for which I appreciate him. And I compliment the Finance Minister. for steering the GST Council towards its conclusion. With all the imperfections of this bill, this is indeed a major step forward.
I think that's a good way to conclude this discussion, Mr. Chidambaram. It's clear at the moment that it is possible, even in today's polarized politics, to find a bipartisan approach to critical issues of policy. Thank you very much.
It was possible 6 years ago, it is possible today, and I think it's possible in future also if every side shows a bipartisan approach.
As always, you have the last word. Thank you very much, Mr.